All right.
We're starting. All right.
There we are. I see us.
Are we on?
I see us. We are
We are live. All
We're
right.
on like Donkey Kong or
I
something.
was just gonna say Donkey Kong. I was gonna say, nah, maybe I shouldn't say that. That sounds kind of lame. But no, you beat me to it.
I know what I am, Steve.
Yeah, I know. I understand.
Welcome to Talking Heads, everyone. Episode 190. Your once weekly live show for the latest in beer and tech news. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Steve.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday night or on the replay in podcast form over on Anchor.fm or wherever your favorite podcasts are found. If you've never seen the show before, you are missing out. But we talk beer, we talk tech, we talk games, pop culture, entertainment, usually some Star Trek. All super chats are read on the air so long as I feel like doing it and they're show appropriate. And if you want to join the super secret chat and the even more super secret after party, think about joining the Float Plane or Patreon. Links are both down in the video description. As a bonus, you'll get exclusive access to my Discord server, where you can chat with myself, John, Rhett, Steve, all the hosts from Talking Heads, and keep the party going with the awesome community over there.
Indeed. It is an awesome community.
I don't just say that.
Yeah. No, it is. It is. I'm kind of surprised because of all the different Discord channels I'm subscribed to. Mm-hmm. This is the only one that I see that is actually the most active, really.
Yeah.
I mean... Yeah, especially for community anyway.
Yeah, I'm in a couple different community ones. I'm in a couple of tech-centric ones, more like help forums than community-based.
Right.
Mine by far is the most active that I'm part of.
Yeah. Yeah, I see people, posting things here and there, but between actual interaction between the users and conversations that go on and stuff like that, this is definitely the most. Yeah. So so if you want to join and see what's up, it's only $1.
Yep, $1 gets you in.
Only $1. Yeah.
Really, it's just a troll fee.
Yeah, it is.
If you're gonna make me ban you, I want at least $1. So.
Yeah. It's that management fee.
Yes. It's that Ticketmaster administration service.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to pay $3 to print my tickets? Yes.
Yes. Yes, you do. We make the rules.
That's
so we
right.
Punish you. Yeah.
Anyway, link is in the description, as well as Rev has the link in chat. So thank you, Rev, and Skull for being my ever-present mods on there. You guys freaking rock. All right. Speaking of drinking beer, one of us was thinking it. I don't know if we said it.
I was thinking it. I was thinking about it all day.
Yeah. That's what I've been forgetting in the intro lately. If you're drinking along with us, think about dropping what you're drinking in the comments or in the chat, and we'll give some early show shout-outs as we go along. That's why my intros have been short. I knew it was off rhythm, but I couldn't figure out what I wasn't saying.
What was missing? Yeah.
I haven't said that in like 3 or 4 weeks now.
Yeah, you have the beginning part down because you rattle that off like no one's business.
Yeah.
But.
Yep. Anyway, one of us was thinking beer. I'm sure of it. So,
I'm
Steve, what do you got lined up tonight?
I have quite a few things here. Let's see. First of all, I have from Beer Valley. It's a double IPA called Smells Like Oregon.
Where are they located?
I think Beer Valley is southern somewhere. Ontario.
Okay, so eastern.
Ontario, Oregon. Yeah, so they're eastern.
Practically Boise.
Yeah, practically. They're way over on the east side.
No, I have friends who live over in Ontario, and in fact, my parents live over that way. So.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's got all the yeast, the hops, the malt, all came from Oregon. So this tastes like Oregon.
Nice.
I don't know if it's going to taste like pine trees, but we'll find out definitely.
You know what's funny about that beer selection is I was actually thinking about mixing myself a cocktail because. Went to the store the other day and I finally found a bottle of one of my favorite all-time gins, which is Vivacity Native Gin. It's an Oregon-made gin, and I make a cocktail that tastes like Eastern Oregon.
Yeah, you were telling me about this.
Yeah.
Yes,
and it's like I finally have all of the ingredients, and I have good quality ingredients, and it's like, you know what, I feel like a cocktail tonight. And then I didn't have any simple syrup, and I didn't feel like dealing with the ice, and it's just like I'm running late. I'll just do beer. But that would have been a fantastic pairing to have you drink that and have me drink my cocktail. Yeah,
it definitely would have. Yeah. I also have, this one's by Urban Roots. It's a Baltic porter called Geeks of the Industry. Kind of applicable, since everybody here is probably geeks of the industry, or of some industry. It's got the nerd glasses on there. And last but not least, I have from Palmer Candy Company, Ferguson Brewing. It's kind of a collaboration. Twin Bing Stout. So it's a stout with Twin Bing cherries. Being from a candy company, I'm expecting this to be pretty big and sweet.
Yeah.
So
I would hope so.
I would hope so too.
Although cherries are always a crapshoot.
It is. I've had a handful of beers that have cherries in them, and usually that flavor profile is very, very minuscule. It's usually like just below the radar there. So yeah, we'll see with this one.
Yeah, with cherries, especially when you start getting into sours or some of the aged beers and this, we add cherries to them. It is always, it could be sweet, it could be tangy, it could be sour, it could be like this was supposed to be a sweet and it turned sour, or it could you never know.
The best cherry based beer I've had was the one from Cascade, the Cascade sour that they have. It's excellent.
Yes.
And it definitely tastes like tart cherries. Yeah. It's really good.
Yeah, I've had a couple pie cherry beers that have been pretty fantastic. I've had a couple that tried and just flat out failed, though.
Yeah.
Like, this is awful.
I have to.
I had one that I still remember a couple years ago. I don't remember what beer it was, but I took a sip of it. It's on video of me like taking a sip and going, nope. Yep. And it was a pie cherry beer, and God, it was just fermented and terrible. It was like cough syrup mixed with hops.
Yes, I have definitely had more failures when it comes to cherry flavor beers than successes.
Yes,
so
I agree with that.
Yeah.
All right. In honor of the Windows 11 announcement, which took place last Thursday, so we really didn't get a chance to get much airtime with it, I picked up this one, which is from Matchless. It is the Plug and Play IPA.
Nice. I seen that one, and I wanted to get it, but I couldn't find it.
Yeah. No, I love the can art on this. It's the Windows flag as a hop and the clouds in the background. It's just perfect. I couldn't leave it on the shelf.
Of course not. It may be a horrible beer, but it's those label art that kind of gets you.
Let's see. A couple of weeks ago, I also mentioned we were talking about bad movie translations on cable TV or on broadcast TV, and Big Lebowski came up because you ever find a stranger in the Alps is one of my favorite censored lines of all time. Anyway, I was also, same day I picked that up, I spotted this one from Binary Brewing, the Big Lebrewski.
Oh, yes. I had this one before.
Have you? So this is a Kolsch, and Kolsch's are, I think, a type of beer that doesn't get enough love. Because they go so well with so many different foods. Like if you think like stout, you're thinking hearty meat, steak, burger kind of thing. If you're thinking, gose, you're thinking, something lighter, and whatnot. Kolsch goes with just about anything, but especially like fish tacos and and crap like that. Like you can have fried chicken, you can have grilled chicken, you can. All of a sudden I'm going Bubba Shrimp up in here, but no, Kolsch's are fantastic. If you've never tried a Kolsch, go get a Kolsch and have something to eat with it.
They're like the hipster version of a lager.
They really are.
They taste like a handmade lager, like because the malts are kind of honeyish in a way, and it tastes like a sweeter lager almost. They're good. No, they're definitely good. I would prefer on a hot day a Kolsch over a lager.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Rogue makes one of my favorite Kolsch's, and they usually have it on tap up at their Portland tap house. So
is it the honey Kolsch?
The honey Kolsch, yeah.
Yes, that one's very good.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And last but not least, John was talking about this one, and I managed to snag a can. So this year's Fort George 3-Way IPA.
Yes, I had that one. Last week, I think I had to grab that one too. Every year when they do the 3-Way IPA,
I've always got to grab a case of it.
Yeah, I do too.
So I haven't tried this year's yet, so this could be fun. I think I'm gonna open the Big Lebruski, to be honest.
Okay. I'm gonna try the smells like Oregon. I think I'm gonna try.
All right.
Give this one a try. Let's see if it really does smell like Oregon. I should take this outside and take a whiff.
Yeah.
And then take a whiff outside.
Well, what part of Oregon? Because if it's Ontario, it's going to be high desert.
Yes. Plus, also, I'm sure this did not smell like what Oregon smelled like a year ago when those fires were burning. It doesn't smell like a smoked malt.
Yeah, it doesn't smell like burnt marshmallow.
Yeah, I know. Ooh, yeah, very foamy.
Did Steve disappear? Bad scene choice, Jeff. Oh, shoot. I forgot. I have that video hidden in this one. There we go.
Oh, there it is.
Okay.
I keep flipping. There I am.
That's right. So sorry everyone on that one. That was when Rhett dropped out 2 or 3 weeks ago. I hid his scene in this so I could have a show on me without my other window weirding out. And I just forgot to unmute it. So no, Steve is here. Steve is here. So you guys just missed half a conversation because I'm assuming it also took the audio.
So, oh, did it take the audio too? So
yeah.
They didn't hear my witty repertoire?
Yeah, did Steve disappear? Yeah. Yeah, they missed some of your best comments of the year, unfortunately.
Oh, man.
We're going to have to redo those.
Let me go back. Just do some ADR.
Oh, that's pretty good.
How is that? Good? Yeah? Yeah, I remember liking it.
Yeah. Not my favorite beer I've ever had, and I wouldn't necessarily even call this one like a lawnmower beer. It's a little heavier and a little thicker than that. Mm-hmm. But I will say this tastes, it's not as good as the Rogue Kolsch. It's not as good as, who makes the other one? Is it Freem that makes the other one?
Yeah, Freem makes a pretty good Kolsch too.
Yeah, that's the other one that I really like. It's not as good as either of those, but it's definitely not a domestic lager. But I'm getting a little bit of like rice, like just a little bit.
You don't want that in your Kolsch. No.
And maybe I'm wrong, and I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping it'll,
This one is I like this one a lot, specifically because it's not like a hazy IPA. Mm-hmm. This is like an old school Northwest Imperial IPA, so it's kind of got that big hoppy, resiny flavor,
oily, clingy.
Yeah, kind of think like Boneyard or something like that. Like it's
Block
it's
15.
Like that. Yes, yeah, like Block 15, just like that. I that's exactly what I was craving today. So this is exactly what I wanted.
Nice. A
little bit of a head on the thing, but it is delicious.
Oh, good. They said the audio was there, so.
Oh, okay.
We don't have to retake.
All right.
At least we didn't talk into blank air for 40 minutes again.
Yeah. Like we did that one time. That was just so smooth and perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was fun. That was good.
All right. Let's get into some news, starting with one that I'm actually really, really excited about. And that is Intel actually making a couple of waves here. This could have some pretty significant impact on both the desktop and the mobile space here in the next couple of quarters. So Intel Alder Lake CPUs have been spotted. This is their desktop variant that should be coming out late 2021, possibly Q1 of 2022. So maybe a CES release, maybe October, something like that, somewhere between there. Anyway, it has been spotted with a 16-core desktop CPU with Intel Xe graphics on board. Now, only 32 execution units, so it's unfortunately only going to be on par with something like an Iris Pro or some of their older tier graphics, just the newer tech. But they're getting competitive again core count wise, and if they can boost that IPC, that might draw a little bit of competition to the 5950X or whatever AMD decides to replace that with. And competition is always a good thing, and I'm hoping that Intel gets back into that competition, whether it be price point or whether it be availability or whether it be just straight up performance. Because remember, AMD, even for years, you could build a pretty inexpensive desktop that still performed if you put a decent graphics card in it. It's like,
right,
yeah, I'm not tearing it up at 140 frames per second, but I'm still getting 95. Like,
yeah.
And that was back when all monitors were 60. So
yeah. So I mean, yeah, exactly. And if the budget price is just right for that thing, that's like perfect for, just having a secondary PC laying around for whatever reason.
Right. The other interesting tidbit in this article, and it took the second place on the title, was that a 14-core mobile CPU has been tested and spotted with a 256 execution unit Intel Xeon or Intel Xe graphics. So to put that in perspective, the GPD Win 3 ships with Intel Xe graphics mounted on board the i7 1167 G7. A lot of sevens. So you get 4 cores, 8 threads in a 25 watt package or 15 watt package or whatever you decide to run it at. And it shares its resources with the Intel Xe graphics. But the Intel Xe graphics only has 96 compute units, or execution units, I guess I should say. That's what Intel calls them. And does moderately well at 720p gaming. Actually, phenomenally well at 720p gaming. And moderately well at 1080 low. So let's multiply that number almost by 3. Not a bad little mobile combo. With
not at all.
14 cores, potentially 28 threads. This may even be using some of their big little architecture. I don't know. But 256 execution units. That's nothing to scoff at. So that's the part I think I am most looking forward to. Now, it does say the Alder Lake CPU is a big little architecture. So that's 8 Golden Cove cores and 8 Gracemont cores. So 16 cores and 24 threads. So the high performance threads are hyper-threaded and the lower performance threads are not. They are single core. But pretty impressive numbers coming out. OpenCL 18,482 on
That's pretty
Geekbench.
Good.
That's a pretty respectable number, even with some discrete graphics going on.
Yeah.
So very, very excited that, it's been a rough couple of years for Intel. We've all known that, but seeing them get back into the swing of things and put out some pretty compelling products, I'm interested.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm definitely
I was too when I was reading this article. I'm like, you know what? Because I didn't catch. Was it a predicted release? I don't think so, because this is still kind of.
This is all kind of leak. Now we do know that it's coming on a new socket. It's an LGA 1700 socket. So chips are getting bigger and bigger.
They sure are.
Right. So no anticipated release, but the fact that we're starting to see some of these kind of pop out and getting an idea of core counts and frequencies and narrowing down on what type of graphics are going to be on board. What do they think they can actually bin? These are both pretty great results. And I'm sorry I didn't see it earlier, but looking at the Geekbench, the 14-core mobile CPU is a 14-core 20-thread. So you've got 6 cores, 12 threads, it looks like, and fill in the gap for the rest. Another 6 cores. 6 cores, 12. I don't know. Something like that. Someone do the math. My head's I'm not all here, so. So likely another big little type architecture. So energy efficient, mobile, and has some gaming chops to it. Maybe like sub RTX 2060, mobile 1070 kind of. That's not a bad place to be for I'm gonna
say like that's
not for an ultrabook, right?
It's not gonna put Intel back on top, but for certain markets, it's going to be impressive.
As long as they're playing in the same sport.
Especially if the price point is good. Well, with Intel, who knows? Sometimes they can surprise you.
Who knows? Right.
Who knows? If they want to be competitive, yes, they could put the price point at a place that could be competitive.
Yeah.
But I mean, with testing already being done and testing already being leaked, there's a good possibility that we'll be seeing these chips this year.
Yep.
At least towards the end of this year, anyway.
Yeah.
Or maybe, like you said, at CES next year. Be like, hey, look what we got, because it's going to be the first time CES is back in full swing.
Yep.
So.
And we should be there.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Yeah.
I had a blast last time. It was great.
Yeah. Let's bring everyone this year.
Yeah, sure. Just everybody come.
That sounds like
come
fun.
On. Yeah. If you've never been Vegas, it's a disgusting place, but it's fun.
Yes. It's a filthy, terrible, awful, energetic, depressing.
It's like Mos Eisley with neon is basically.
Yeah, you're walking through these opulent hotels and all these suites and whatnot. It's like, I couldn't even afford to park here.
Yeah. Oh, I still remember when we took that Uber ride, and that guy was like pointing out just right off the freeway on the other side of the freeway where the strip is. He's like, yeah, you don't ever go there.
Yeah.
It's like we had people stabbed over there.
Yeah.
It's like, eek. Yeah.
Yep. No, I had a story from a friend of mine, not going to say who rented a car at one point, and was a nicer car, but they ended up just south of the strip, like half a mile, like not far,
not too far off of it. Yeah.
And they weren't doing anything crazy, but a cop pulled up behind him and flipped his lights on, and he goes, "What are you boys doing here?" And they said, "Oh, we're just out for a spin." He goes, "You don't want to be here. You need to get on the road, go north, and get back on the strip and stay on the strip." This is not the place you want to be.
Yeah, exactly. I noticed that with like Anaheim too. It doesn't take far to drive from the area where Disneyland is before it starts looking like, maybe we should be.
Well, remember that first brewery we went to? That was it was that same area. Yeah. It was just south of the strip. And
It was like,
or just north. Excuse me, that was just north.
It was just north. It was it was a little bit past the Fremont Street area. Is off
Fremont
to like
just north of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I do remember.
They weren't going to break into my Buick.
No, and it was like right when they opened too. But I mean, it was still like,
it was 10 in the morning.
Yeah, it was 10 in the morning. Nothing was going to happen then.
The meth heads
I would not want to be there at night. That just looked like an area that was not like...
Or rather, the meth heads are just now falling asleep.
It was close to an overpass, too. So you just know that there was like a lot of stuff going on over there.
It was under two freeways. It was at the LA cutoff and whatnot. And so, there were two overpasses that you went underneath to get to this brewery. And great place. Yeah,
it was great fun.
Yeah, it was very clean, very, very well done. The viewing room for the brewery was insane.
Oh yeah, it was great. There was a reason why it was surrounded by a giant iron fence.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm sure there was a reason for that. But yeah, great brewery, but bad location.
Yes. All right. I think we're going to jump into our sponsor spot about 5 minutes early, because I think the next story is going to take a bit of time to kind of go through the ups and downs of this one.
Sure.
So let's jump into that. Today's episode of Talking Heads is brought to you by Lenode. If you've ever needed to host your own servers, whether it be for home or business use, but don't have the resources or time to invest into hardware, power, cooling, or even space, why not let Lenode host them for you? If it runs on Linux, it'll run on Lenode. That includes the software from most of my tutorials on the channel, like how to run your own ad-blocking recursive DNS server, VPN gateways, your own cloud-based Plex server, and more. Lenode makes it simple to deploy and manage your own cloud services, with solutions ranging from a single shared CPU to massive multi-core virtual machines. They even have dedicated RTX 6000 GPUs for graphic rendering or machine learning. With shared CPU plans starting at as little as $5 per month and scaling up to as high as you need to go, you'll be able to find a hosting plan that fits your needs. Even if you do own your own servers, you can use Lenode to keep a backup off-site. Because remember, RAID is not a backup.
It's not a backup.
It's not a backup. Visit
Not a backup, guys.
linode.com/craftcomputing and get a $100 60-day credit just for signing up for a new account. That's linode.com/craftcomputing. And thanks again to Lenode for sponsoring today's episode.
Thanks, Lenode.
Thank you, Lenode. You guys are great.
They're awesome.
I heart Lenode. I just realized I have a Lenode shirt and I don't think I've ever worn it.
Yeah, you should probably wear that.
I should probably wear it one of these days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I'll just shoot one of my videos in it.
I'm
going to shoot my next video in a Lenode shirt.
Okay, there you go. And then next time when I'm on and you do the spot, I'll do an interpretive Lenode dance inspired by Lenode.
I'm holding you to that. They're our sponsor for a long time to come, Steve. So get the data going where you need.
Yeah. Lenode.
You need some backup singers too. Lenode.
Yeah, exactly.
None of that was paid for either. That was on the house. So.
Free Lenode.
Thank you guys for putting up with me. All right. The machines are taking her gerbs.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
Skylab is almost here.
Yeah. So this has been not necessarily a news story, but it's one that had a fairly lengthy article written about it this week. And I thought it brought up some pretty interesting points. And I kind of wanted to talk about it because I can see pros and cons on both sides galore.
Of course.
So we are talking about voice actors being replaced by AI for game voices. That is all of the characters, player characters, NPCs, whatever. You realize when a game is released in like 30 languages, like something like Cyberpunk or the Outer Limb, what is that? Outer Limits?
Yeah, no. Outer Limits. I was just gonna say you had it right.
Did I? Okay. It didn't sound right because okay, yeah, it's the Outer Limits. Okay, Outer Limits. I mean, you could go the Bethesda route and just use the same 5 voice actors for every single part, not even have them vary it.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just some poor beggar. Aren't you the Jarl of Winterfell?
Yeah.
Like you.
Well,
you
to be fair,
to be both.
I think Skyrim it's like we're almost at like the 10th anniversary of Skyrim being released. I think we're almost there.
November, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Let me see. When was Skyrim?
2011 was Skyrim, and I think it was November
11th, 2/11. Yeah, so we're almost at the 10-year anniversary. So yeah, I mean, yeah, they could maybe just take the voice actors and adjust the pitch and the bass or something like that, just to make them sound a little bit different.
Do something different.
Yeah.
I mean, at least Fallout had some more Fallout 4 had some more variants. But one of it's like, yeah, I love the live voice acting, but in Fallout 3, hearing the same 2 creeper voices, and that's really all there were. There were 2 people who did the creepers, and or the ghouls, excuse me, not creepers, ghouls.
Ghouls, yeah. Ghouls.
And hey, smooth skin. And whatnot, and it's like, okay, are you the bartender or are you some random thug? Do I hit you? Like
all the same voice? Yeah, it's all the same voice. Yeah,
it is so Outer Worlds. Thank you.
Outer Worlds. Yes. Okay, not Outer Limits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bethesda said Starfield will have voiced AI. So and Outer Worlds had voiced AI. And the reason this story came up was there was a fan mod, essentially a fan DLC that came out for The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, and it's called A Night to Remember. And it is essentially a new player campaign that is fully voice acted, but it's fully voice acted by AI characters. And even though this is fan made, and even though it's free to download, and even though there are some voice actors who are a little ticked off because the people who voiced Geralt, for example, didn't get paid for this. But all the characters in this, and there's quite a bit of dialogue in this, they're fully voice acted, but not by people. So it begs the question, number one, in this certain case, is it morally right to essentially create your own AI algorithm to replicate a known voice, so you can write your own story. I mean, there's fanfic, there's a whole bunch of different avenues where it's like, well, you can write about something. Like LucasArts is one of the most well-known for allowing fanfic as far as extended universe stuff, and they said you can write in our universe and we'll even publish it for you. Just don't alter the main canon story. If you want to expand on it, if you want to use the characters, that's fine, but they have to start and end at the same point that they do in the movies. You can't alter history. And that was pretty much the only requirements of it. So they've been very forgiving, but that's a little bit different medium because Mark Hamill wasn't acting as Luke Skywalker in the extended universe or expanded universe. He was only in it for, well, I'd say 8 or 6 episodes, but we all know it's closer to like 5.
Yeah. No, it is an interesting concept, especially with, this thing was an expediency thing. Obviously, they're making a mod and they wanted to make it as polished and professional as possible, but they don't have the monetary means to, hire actors or anything like that. So the technology basically will take the existing actor's voice and sample it and basically allow you to type out and make them say whatever you want them to say. And that does bring up a real ethical question. Does a voice actor own their own voice, basically? Do they have the ability to say, no, you can't use that? I mean, you have plenty of voice impersonators too. I mean, you got tons of comedians who will sit there and do some pretty, spot on impersonations of like, Christopher Walken or something like that.
Yes, but
they don't get sued.
Parody is protected
different.
under copyright.
That's true.
And so you can be a comedian and be an impressionist. You can be Frank Caliendo and do Robin Williams in The Wizard of Oz, which, by the way, is one of the greatest 2 minutes of stand-up comedy you will ever watch in your life. I mean, he can do that because Robin Williams never wrote, directed, and acted in The Wizard of Oz.
Right. And I think, yeah. And
sorry, it was directed by Quentin Tarantino. Sorry.
Right. It would be parody at that point, which would be fine. And in this case, it's not parody. But
this is not
it's
parody.
AI.
Right.
No, this isn't parody. And this is a product. Now, I don't think this mod is monetized. They're not selling it. This is a free mod, as far as I know. So I think that's probably part of the reason is that they're not so miffed. It's more of an alarmist thing that this is something that's possible. Because I watched the trailer for this. And
it sounds pretty good.
I mean, come on. If you've played the Witcher games, Geralt's voice is pretty deep and deadpan.
Yeah.
I can see an AI easily replicating it and making it sound pretty good. It would be hard to do something like somebody who has really unique speech patterns, like Christopher Walken or Steve Buscemi or William Shatner or something like
William
that.
Dafoe.
Or that would be a little harder for AI, but someone who just talks like this all the time, or like Christian Bale. That would be easy, right? That wouldn't be that hard to do.
I think Christian Bale uses Microsoft Voice.
Yes, probably. Yeah. Yeah, you really think? I wonder what the lozenge budget was for Batman. Just like every day, Christian Bale goes through like a giant bag of luggage. But I mean, the fact that this thing isn't monetized or the guy isn't making money from this probably keeps people at the voice actors is like, well, okay, you're not making any money from this, therefore there's nothing for me to gain by trying to sue you.
Right.
But like in the case of a Starfield, that they said that there's going to be AI voices, and if it's based on a real life actor, what is the monetary compensation for that? What does that look like? Or do they just say, screw it, you don't get anything because it's really an AI generated thing?
Right.
So I don't know. it's an interesting thought. Concept.
Novella Hub brings up Gilbert Gottfried. There's actually an interesting case study on Gilbert Gottfried, as he was the voice of the Aflac duck. Aflac.
Yeah.
So he was that voice for years and years and years, and uncredited, but it was Gilbert Gottfried. Anyway, Gilbert Gottfried got into some hot water for some comments he made, either currently or they
it was a couple years ago.
They dug him up
that, yeah.
and canceled him. I don't remember what happened, but it was another case of one of those comedian known for offensive comedy said something offensive 10 years ago that was kind of offensive 10 years ago, but now really offensive because we changed our minds. It was one of those deals. And so Aflac dropped him as their spokesman. And there was actually a contest of become the next duck. And so they had a bunch of voice actors come in and like give us what your impression of the Aflac duck would be. And they ended up hiring a guy who sounds exactly like Gilbert Gottfried.
Yeah.
And so does Gilbert Gottfried own his voice? I'm sure in the contract it said, that Aflac, the company, is at will to use his voice for promotional purposes and in advertisements. And I mean, contracts are very well defined as far as what is allowed and what is not when you hire talent. And where will my voice show up? Are you going to use it in the Super Bowl? Can you not use it in the Super Bowl? Blah, 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 blah. I mean, it is very, very detailed. So did they have a right to essentially mimic Gilbert Gottfried's voice after they fired him in new advertising material? That's a good discussion. And it all depends on what the contract said. But it brings up kind of a moral ground about the voice actor was fired and they hired someone to replace him to do the same exact voice. And this happens in cartoons, and this happens in things all the time. I mean, everyone remembers Meg 1 from Family Guy. Oh wait, no one does, because
no, just because
because Mila Kunis is Meg.
Yes,
but it's there is so much unexplored ground when it comes to voice acting and replacing voice acting, either with other actors or with non-actors, with artificial intelligence and algorithms.
I mean, I even remember there was I don't know if you ever played it, but I played, actually kind of liked it. It was the Telltale Games did a Back to the Future adventure game. Yeah. And of course, Michael J. Fox doesn't sound like Marty from Back to the Future anymore. I mean, and it's not, it's just he's got Parkinson's, and he can't. Yeah. And so, but they found somebody that sounds almost exactly like him. And if you ever played it, it sounds like Marty McFly from
like
Back
circa
to the Future.
1983.
Right. So, and at that place, that's not a parody. That's somebody duplicating a voice. And did Michael J. Fox get any of that? No, he obviously didn't. But they found somebody to actually mimic his voice. Yeah. No. It's very interesting because there's people that can definitely sound like other people, and so if people can get away with that, why can't we use AI? And even in a further type of a thing, what about people who are long since deceased?
What about Governor Tarkin and Princess Leia?
Yeah, exactly.
Who had CG representations in Rogue One.
We're still in the uncanny valley realm for their visual depictions of that, because I have not seen one that was real. I mean, I've seen some the Princess Leia was not quite.
It wasn't quite
not there yet. It wasn't quite there. It's like it's the uncanny valley thing. It's like, it looks great.
It looks okay,
but it doesn't look human. And it doesn't look human.
Right. No offense to the CG artists, because they're some of the best character models I have ever seen used on film. But they still weren't naturally lit, human-looking replacements.
No.
Governor Tarkin looked better than Leia. And the voice actor for Governor Tarkin was fantastic. And again, here we can just talk voice acting. The voice actor for Governor Tarkin, let that sink in for a second, was very, very good.
Yeah.
As Governor Tarkin. So does...
Well, I mean, to be fair,
you could
go to London and throw a rock and find evil British guy voices pretty much anywhere. So that's not that hard to do.
What's Mike Myers doing these days?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so I think you nailed something, that we are definitely in the uncanny valley state of affairs at the moment. I think the technology is both great and awful all at the same time, and I think we need to learn to work with the great aspects of it and forgive the maybe not so great aspects of it, or work around the not so great aspects. Morally speaking, if you are a company like Obsidian, so Obsidian's the developer of the Outer Worlds, they did Fallout New Vegas, they're now back again, part of Microsoft, and part of the hope is they'll do another Fallout game. Wouldn't that be fantastic? But if you're Obsidian and you're known for voice acting, and you hire good voice actors, and that's what you're known for and that's what you do you go full AI with your next game, with your next project? And one of the points that I tried to get to, and I think we missed it because we got distracted, was what if you're a company like Obsidian and you have to release a game in 30 different languages that is 100% voice acted? Do you hire an entire ensemble in every single language, or bilingual voice acting, or whatever else, to record each and every single language full dialogue tree, which, by the way, tens of thousands of lines for many games. Outer Worlds had something like 25,000 lines of dialogue, all of which need to be acted, emotionally correct, contextually correct.
This is not only for just games too. I don't know if you've watched a lot of the. I think this is unique. I've never seen this before, except for on the Marvel shows that they're putting on Disney Plus. I've watched the end credits because you know how Marvel is. They always put something at the end.
Right.
But in some of the early episodes they don't. And so I'm like, okay, well, I got to watch it just to see. But at the very end, actually, after the credits, they have the credits to the credits, where they actually have the voice actors of the several different languages that they do. So not only do they have obviously the actors doing it, but when they're doing the dubs for the different languages, they have different actors doing that, and they put them on it goes on for like 5 minutes of just all the people that they hired to do the ADR in different languages.
So famously, Christoph Waltz speaks like a dozen langues, and I guess
he can just do whatever.
And I guess for his couple of Quentin Tarantino appearances, he did the voice acting for or the dub overs for all 12 languages that he spoke. And so regardless of what language you watched, what is that in is it Inglourious Bastards and Django Unchained, I think, are the Christoph Waltz?
Yes, he was in both of those.
If you watch that, his characters are all voiced by him. Period.
I know. A little side note, I think, is a little trivial tidbit there. I think Goldfinger, the guy who played Goldfinger in the James Bond movie, the old James Bond movie, he's like a German actor, and the guy didn't speak a lick of English. He barely spoke English, so he had to memorize the lines phonetically in English, even though he did not understand what they were really saying. And if you go back and watch it, it seems like his delivery is a little disjointed, but it's actually a pretty good job for a guy who doesn't really know what he's saying. It's like somebody could teach me phonetically how to say things in Spanish. I might not know what it means or anything like that.
I can replicate a lot of different phonetic sounds. I can't roll my R's. I've never been able to roll my R's.
Oh, really?
I cannot.
I've always been able to do that.
I cannot do it. Yeah, it's just one of the things I cannot do.
Russian language is not for you, my friend.
No, I can play clarinet with the best of them, but I cannot roll my R's.
Yeah. Oh, your poor wife.
Yeah. I have other talents.
Oh, okay. All right.
Steve, you're going to need to see me after class.
All right. I'm good detention
now. Anyway, yeah, it's... I don't know that I have a good answer for this. I don't know that I have a good answer.
I don't know either.
For, is AI voice a great thing? Is it a terrible thing? I think it's a thing. I think for certain avenues, it could be fantastic.
Yeah.
Obsidian said for Outer Worlds, they used it as a placeholder to make sure that audio cues were actually working, voice sync was working, and they were using it to essentially debug their game. And then for a lot of copies of the game, they still had voice actors come in and do the voices. But they don't do voice acting until the last step of production. Once everything is finalized, once all of your dialogue trees are finalized, they will finally have voice actors come in and read all their lines. So it's a great development tool, but someone pointed out in the chat, this could be great for MMOs that otherwise don't have any voice acting. This could be great for certain other games. Could be great for football games, could be great for basketball games. You're not going to go sound capture Chris Paul and Damian Lillard and go down the list and get their dialogue in game, but if you can just throw some decent replacements in, potentially
like musicians, when they release a song, obviously they have a song and then they can get royalties from people playing the song. Potentially, because how this AI works, you still need the original actor's voice to program the AI to be able to copy you and replicate you.
And
there could be a potential avenue stream where actors can actually make money, not as much money as doing it, but basically license their voice out, say you have my permission to use it, a smaller fee.
So famously, Majel Barrett Roddenberry, who is the voice of the computer, had her computer voice fully recorded with every phonetic combination for doing something just like this. And so there's a phenomenal use case for, Majel Roddenberry is the voice of the computer. And if you want to continue that legacy, and if you want that voice to remain constant in the Star Trek universe, or if you want to go back and explore TNG and DS9 era stuff and Voyager era stuff and have an accurate computer voice, you could use AI to recompile her voice and then have it spit out whatever lines the computer needs to say, and they're identical to the way she would have done it. I think that's a phenomenal use of the technology. I think adding voices to a game that had no intention to voice act or doesn't need to worry about deep storytelling, just, wants a little additional oomph to the gameplay.
And as this thing kind of progresses, I don't know where it's at right now. I don't know how quickly real time this thing emulates other people's voices, but potentially if it gets fast enough and done well enough, the size of games will go down because you don't have to have all these, sound files downloaded with it. You just have to have the interpretive engine and the text in which to interpret it at for the dialogue. And so then you don't, and that becomes like making voices for, DLC or even user-made content could be voice acted without voice actors. Type of a thing.
I'd say for main characters, full cast, full-fledged world with hundreds of NPCs, AI the crap out of that. And I think there's a sliding scale there. I think if you have something the scale of, let's say, Skyrim, you have some characters that need to be voice acted. You have the Jarl of Winterfell. You have Jarl Ulfric. Ulfric. There we go. You have the Greybeards. You have Alduin. You have. I mean, there's a lot of characters that are main characters, that are quest characters that should have some emotion and some humanity behind them. They shouldn't be hollow performances. Right. Even though they ended up being hollow performances because they said, please read this in a monotone with no emotion whatsoever when they did the voice acting for Skyrim. I'm assuming that's the direction
that's actually part of that's actually part of one of the hard things to voice act for a video game, is because different from like movies and TV shows and stuff like that,
you have
a
emotional
script.
Context. Right.
Well, yeah, you don't have emotional context at all, because a lot of times it's driven by what the user does, and you don't know what the user's doing at the time, so you don't know how your delivery is supposed to be. One of the even one of my favorite games, like Portal 2, Wheelie was voiced by Stephen Merchant. He's a big, tall, blonde guy that hangs out with Ricky Gervais. He did an excellent job, I thought, in Portal 2, but like watching his interview talk about when he voiced that character, he said he hated it. He says, I absolutely hated it because I had no idea what the context was for what I was saying. And even though they said it, it was like it's different because everything was driven from user interaction. So your delivery was based on what the user would do, not what the other actors were doing. All right, what are we doing now?
I'm doing the
the Windows.
Yeah, the Windows. The matchless plug and play. It's a hazy IPA.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it in my brand new DS9 mug.
Nice. Oh, nice. Just a little bit of a foam at the top.
Yep. So this was one of my Father's Day presents. Was a as authentic as possible Ractigino mug. No Earl Grey decaf for me.
Yeah, who does decaf tea?
I know. Like I'll do decaf coffee sometimes.
Oh no, that just seems like a waste. I'd much rather do. I mean, decaf tea if they have like not a nice flavors in it.
Yeah.
But I need a good black tea just to give me that caffeine content.
Yeah. So yeah,
an interesting thought concept.
We're not going to solve the world's problems.
We're not going
to
solve it. Yeah, we're not lawyers. We're just like talking about an interesting subject matter.
Yeah,
that not only impacts things that we love, like computers and games and stuff like that, but the entertainment industry as a whole.
Yeah,
and the efficacy, I don't know, around that. Mm-hmm. I remember a couple years ago they had that commercial with Fred Astaire dancing with a vacuum cleaner, and of course Fred Astaire's been dead a long time ago. But they're thinking like, well, he's dead. You don't have to pay him, but he never consented to selling a vacuum cleaner either.
The Tupac hologram.
The Tupac hologram.
Yeah.
Or something
speaking
like
of Uncanny Valley.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm waiting for Chris Farley to make a return on Saturday Night Live at this point.
They don't have the pixels to replicate them yet.
Oh my freaking god! You don't know what you're doing.
I want to see. I'm gonna make an animatronic Chris Farley in a van down by the river.
You're gonna wind up eating a steady diet of government cheese and living in a van down by the river. That's the one he's really known for. My favorite Chris Farley ever was Japanese Game Show.
That was pretty funny.
Japanese Game Show was incredible.
I thought the van down the river is probably the
Alec Baldwin and Mike Myers, like
those were good. Yes,
so good.
I know. He also his Patrick Swayze Chippendales dance routine.
Yeah,
was pretty good too.
Good morning from Germany. Guten Abend. That is good.
Andy did.
Steve, you on your second beer yet, or still finishing?
No, not yet. I'm getting down to the dregs of my IPA, which It is a double. In fact, I didn't even look to see what it's 8%.
Okay.
So it's not too bad.
Yeah. This one I think is only a 6. I wanted to say it was low. Come on, Matchless. Where's it at? 6.8. Okay. Yeah, both of these have been 6s so far. So Big Labruski was a 6.0, Matchless is a 6.8.
All right. That's not too bad. Not too bad. I don't know if I want to do the stout. Well, these both, this one's a stout, this one's a porter. So they're both going to be like big old roasty bombs. So we'll see.
Yeah, I went full on IPA today. Well, I guess I started with the Kolsch, but yeah.
Yeah, I normally go all IPA all the way, but not today.
What did I log into? LOL, watching for 45 seconds and already laughing. All right. That's what I love to hear.
That's good.
Get your tech news, your beer news, and a little bit of comedy. So there you go.
A little bit. Except when John's on.
Then it's just...
Yeah. It becomes the dad joke channel. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh.
All Nickelback jokes all the time.
Yes. Look at this photograph. John's one-hit wonder. All right, moving right along.
All right.
Moving along. So Windows and Microsoft made some interesting headlines this last week. Not necessarily for great reasons, because there's been some, we'll say, confusion in communication, as well as some ruffled feathers about some of the hardware requirements for Windows 11. First off, Windows 11 looks pretty decent. I actually do have it running on one system. In fact, it's my GPD Win 3 handheld. And outside of a couple small bugs, I really like it. And of course, it's a beta operating system. It's gonna have some bugs. Yeah. Like I have one game where the controller just won't recognize anymore, and unfortunately, it was a game that I was trying to like 100% through, and now it won't work.
No.
So I had to switch to a different game now. But that's really the only thing. I've had a couple of crashes, but
I don't want to age myself, but I'm never doing another Windows beta again ever since I did the Windows 98 beta, which Windows 98 was a great operating system, but the beta version was abysmally bad. Yes. It was just horrible. Yep. So ever since
I have a beta disc somewhere for 98. I do.
Oh, really?
I have a Microsoft disc somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, I think we had the disc too, because before
you couldn't download it.
No, you couldn't, because back then MSDN, they had MSDN back then, but it all came on CDs or DVDs. Yeah. Back in Windows 98 days, it was all CDs. Mm-hmm. So they just sent you a giant box full of, hey, here's the latest release of everything we got.
Yep.
Yep. And so we got the Windows 98 beta release in our dev environment. It's like, well, let's go spin it up and see what we got. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to try this as my everyday driver for a while and see how this works. And it took me like a couple hours to set up Windows and my dev environment and everything like that. And man, the next couple of days was just miserable. Nothing worked. Everything crashed all the time. It was bad.
So I tried to do that with I tried to daily drive a beta one time. So last week was my 15-year anniversary. Mm-hmm. I've been married a while. In fact, out of all my friends, I think you're the only one that's been married longer than me.
Oh yeah.
Like most of my friends is like, yeah, we've been together 6 now. Oh, that's cute. That's cute. That's really cute. Yeah. But 15 years this last week. And one of the things that I remember is I took my laptop on our anniversary with us, and I was beta testing Windows Vista.
Oh god, that was another one that was really bad too.
So you want to talk about like how the final version was hot garbage? Holy crap. Yeah. I couldn't do anything with that. I think it was a compact laptop. I believe it was a Turion 64, so I was running the 64-bit, but it was a single core 2 gigahertz with 2 gigs of RAM. Yeah. Absolutely. It had some graphics horsepower behind it, but it wasn't. It was like an ATI X600 mobile. Oh, yeah. Like it was not a high-end chip. And man,
I know. Well, everybody's been. I've seen the meme posted quite a few times already with the good bad
Yeah.
Windows release. You know, and
it's the old Intel TikTok.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's the TikTok thing. Yeah. So yeah, Windows. I mean, I wouldn't say Windows 8 was bad because 8.1 was actually not that bad. But 8 was not great. But Windows 10 was great. So if the pattern continues, 11's probably not going to be that great. But
yep.
Hey, you know what? There's always a chance for them to break that streak. So who knows? You know, as long as because I know a lot of people have like, oh hey, look, the start menu's in the middle now.
Right.
I don't know if I like that so much.
You know, for what they're trying to do, I do like the start menu in the middle. I'm still kind of getting used to the new start menu.
Yeah.
I haven't quite figured it out yet, but it's not overly foreign either.
Right.
So I will say that. I'm still trying, but for a touch interface, for the GPD Win 3, rather than trying to get your finger into the very corner of the screen, being able to touch it near the center on the bottom.
The center, it makes more sense.
So much easier. Well, it is, yeah.
Well, from my understanding anyway, because like this is the mistake they made with Windows 8, is they had the menu pop up full screen because they were trying to integrate, you know, desktop with tablet,
and phone.
Yeah, so in phone,
they're trying to
like
unify everything.
Unify everything, right? But people who were desktop users hated it. They just absolutely hated it. It's like I don't want to take up my.
They even put that in the server release.
Right.
Server 2012 is one of the most unusable piles of crap.
I hate it. I know. We still have some machines here at work that.
Yeah, I know I did when I left. Yeah. So I don't have any anymore.
But the huge mistake that they had was when they released it, they didn't have an option to go back to the classic.
Yeah.
You know, menu or something resembling the classic menu. People had to actually, you know, make third-party tools, and it wasn't until like 8.1 that they said, okay, you can have an option to switch between the two. It looks like now with 11, you can switch it right out of the box to say, I don't want the middle menu, I want it back.
Yeah, you can change the orientation. You can't change the location, though. You can't put it on the side. You can't put it on the top anymore. And there were some instances where I actually kind of liked the taskbar off to the left-hand side. And that's not an option anymore. You cannot move the taskbar. I
never really liked that myself, but I mean, I know several people who did.
Right.
And to have that option there is always nice.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can't do it, you know, every time Windows makes a release and they break other people's preferences, there's always going to be a third-party tool out there to replace it and get, you know, make some money from people who want that back.
Yep. Anyway, Microsoft ruffled some feathers, shall we say, with some of the hardware requirements for Windows 11, making TPM, or Trusted Platform Module 2.0, a mandatory requirement of Windows 11 installation.
Yeah.
They also significantly narrowed the scope of CPUs that were allowed to have Windows 11 installed. Notably limiting it to 8th gen or newer Intel CPUs and Zen Plus or higher Ryzen CPUs. So, like, if you didn't build a system in the last 3 years, you're SOL.
Yeah, that doesn't seem to make much sense. And
I actually have an opinion in which it does.
Okay. I know that a lot of people, heck, I still have like my main machine still runs Windows. Well, I think I just put Windows 7 on it not that long ago. I mean, I do have some older because it's older hardware. I don't want to put like a modern operating system on some old hardware that's just emulating some, you know, MAME stuff. It doesn't make much sense, especially when it just boots up and goes to full screen into the
RetroArch
interface anyway.
Yeah.
Exactly,
my main machine runs Windows 7 simply for the absolutely no bloat, loads straight me into RetroArch, and I don't want anything else. And it's not connected to the internet. No, I have it blacklisted in my router, so it can't get out if it wants to. But it has network connectivity inside my house. I can FTP new files to it if I need to, and works great.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. Exactly. So I know that I don't know exactly why they would have the limit for the last. I mean, like a Gen 7 Intel should easily be able to run it, right?
I know why.
What is that?
In the Windows 11 presentation, out of all of the garbage and the Pinterest-like recipe presentation that was, hey, so tell us about Windows 11. Well, back when I was 7 years old, my parents owned this old farmhouse, and one of my greatest memories was sitting in the old barn in the hay and looking up at the cloud. Just tell me the recipe, dang it.
I know.
Like, that's what the presentation was, and God, it irritated the living crap out of me.
Oh God. Okay, you don't know. That's the biggest pet peeve. Me and my wife talk about this all the time because when we're looking for recipes, this is total aside. We'll find like, okay, I want to make X, right? So I go look it up. What's the recipe? And it's like, oh, there's a very first result. Let's click on that. And then it tells you the story behind everything. And you got to scroll down like almost up to the bottom. There's the recipe at the bottom. No, I want the recipe at the top to know if I have everything that I need to make this. Do I have to go to the store and get it? I don't want to know.
Back when I was a young woman in Tuscany.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't want to know how this food made you feel after you ate it. I don't care. I just want to know how to make it. Yeah, there's still some websites that do that, but there's a lot that just, oh my God, why do you do that? And they do that because you have to scroll down and then they start serving up ads. You
get ads every third paragraph.
Yeah,
right.
But I got Raspberry Pi hole, so screw those guys.
Yep. Anyway, I think I know the reason why Windows limited the CPU viability of Windows 11. It's because during the presentation, in and out of the stories of being young and growing up rich, they said this phrase a couple of different times. This is the most secure version of Windows we've ever made.
Oh, okay.
They said that a couple of times. Remember, Spectre and Meltdown are kind of big deals.
Yes,
as far as performance and security goes. And so, do we kneecap older CPUs on performance when we're asking more out of the silicon than we ever have before? Not that an i7 7700K would have any problems running Windows 11, but maybe an i3 7100 would, maybe a Pentium G 3050 would, you know. So would we rather kneecap what we want the operating system to be, or would we rather have it as secure as we can possibly make it without having a full unified product stack? Right. We don't control the hardware. We're not vertically integrated like Apple. And one of Apple's claims to fame, and also major irritants, is the T2 chip, is the encryption chip that if you swap hardware out, sorry, your Mac is now a
You're
brick.
Screwed. Oh gosh, yeah, no, that's it's infuriating.
Right. It's to an end user, it's terrible. From a security standpoint, it's fantastic. And so there's two sides to look at it from. If you're Microsoft and you know that your hardware partners for years and years and years and with many like a decade's worth of silicon have massive security vulnerabilities, specifically with virtual machines and sandbox environments. And you want to move your operating system over to virtual machine driven and sandbox environments. And you want to secure it. Would you not exclude the older CPUs by policy by default? Not necessarily with the option to like not install it. Because they're just registry tweaks. It's
yes, I know.
It's if less than don't install, if greater than yes install.
Like I said, like people will find workarounds for it. It's no problem, right? Yeah. The tech savvy will find workarounds.
Yeah, and so there's already workarounds. There's already videos out there of here's how you can DSIM the image the installer straight in, because shocker, it works on the Windows deployment service using DSIM. Or here's how you can do this, here's how you can do that to the registry or group policy or whatever else and get the result that you want, which is installing it onto whatever hardware you want.
Right.
But by default, Microsoft is saying these are our requirements. You need to meet this because we're tightening down our security.
Yeah.
I can't see that as a bad thing. I know it's going to leave some people in the dust, but those people that are left in the dust have until 2025 to keep using Windows 10. This is not like a 1 year cutoff or a 1 year band-aid.
No, I know.
There's still 4.5 years to go before Windows 10 is end of life.
And if I know a lot of people who especially get used to their operating system and whatnot, they're not quick adopters. They're slow adopters. And there's still people who like, I love Windows 7 and I'm not upgrading no matter what type of,
Yep.
Yeah, there's people out there that just absolutely love it. They don't want us to upgrade at all.
Have you ever read through a YouTube comment section on a video?
Several times, actually.
Because I still have people complaining that I'm only benchmarking on Windows 10. Why don't you benchmark on Windows 7? Well, number one, DX12. Well, you could run 12 on 7, and you could totally. Yes, I understand. The problem is you suck.
Yeah, I know. I know. People just don't want to. I understand. You get used to something, you don't want to learn something new. But I think for the most part, Windows, how it functions, it doesn't really change much version to version. I mean, I understand visually they might change where things are located. In fact, that's mainly when they release new versions of things, is the frustration is like, yeah, that feature didn't disappear. They just moved it to some other place. Mm-hmm. It's just like, you got to go dig for it now.
Yeah.
Or it's over here instead of over there. That's Office is notorious for that, especially when they introduced the whole ribbon menu thing.
Oh, God.
I memorized where everything was. And then they bought ribbons up. It's like, where is...
How do I paste?
Yeah, it's like, what the hell?
Where are my fonts?
Yeah, exactly. Where did everything go? Oh, everything's... Oh, my God. Yeah.
Let alone trying to navigate Excel with that shit.
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, my...
Well, I did a lot of VBA scripting with Excel for a lot of people to fill in gaps that they just did not want to do.
Yeah.
It was it's funny. So I'm finally trying. Oh, kudos to Skull, who actually picked up that I poured a new beer without me even saying anything. Good job, Skull. Talk about the cherry flavor. This is not disappointing, but it's not super cherry flavored. I definitely taste it there.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of has a little bit of a, tinny flavor, like it's been sitting in the can for a little too long.
Mm-hmm.
But it's roasty and it's definitely got some cherry flavor to it.
Nice.
So I'll give it that. It's a good sipper.
You can taste cherries, and they're not.
I can taste
awful.
cherry. It's not awful.
Okay.
It's not.
Okay.
It's not horrible. If I were to do like an untapped rating, I'd probably give it like a 3.5 or something like that. It's pretty good, but not like, oh my gosh, so good.
Yeah, you and I rate pretty similarly. I know John tends to be a little bit more generous than I do.
Yeah.
Like he goes, well, what's an average beer? Well, like 3.5. I said, no, like average is like 2.5.
2.5. 2.5 is
right.
the middle.
It's in the middle. Yeah. That's average.
Yeah.
That's, I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's an average beer. John will go like, I could drink it. It's a 3.25. It's like, no, I could drink it as a 2.25.
Yeah.
I'd prefer to drink something else as a 2.0, and anything that I don't want to drink again is below 2. Yeah. Like, that's how I rate.
If I get something that like, okay, that exceeds my expectations slightly, then I give it a 3.5. It blows me away, I'll give it a 4. If it like makes me, just orgasm or something,
if it makes me see see the face of God, it's a 4.75.
If it makes my knees weak or whatever, like I can't stand anymore, then I'll give it higher than a 4. But if I just drink it, I'm like, oh,
but above 4
is
like, very rare for me.
Yeah, no, I'll do 4.
I'll do 4.
I'll do
above
4. Yeah,
is pretty
above
rare.
4 is very rare. Yeah, 4 has to be exceptional to go above 4. But it's like 2.5 is like if I drink it and it's like, well, this just tastes like every other thing, then I'm like, okay,
like I think John rated just the standard pirate stout at like a 4.25, and it's like, it's a really good stout. It's a really good stout. I
would give that a 4.
I gave it a 3.75, where it's like,
oh, you have a 3.75?
It's great. It's a great. If it's on the shelf, I will absolutely buy it. If it's on tap, I'm going to get at least a taster.
Yeah,
it's like, it's one of those beers, but there are other beers that are far more enjoyable, and 375 is a solid B+ rating.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest about what that is. I saved the 4.5 rating for the Governor's Reserve.
Yeah.
Like,
where you get
there's a higher tier to that stout.
Yeah, there's a higher tier. Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sorry, I grade on a curve.
No, I completely understand that, and I also am very judgmental about labels. Like if they say a particular ingredient is in a beer,
coconut,
and I drink it and I can't taste it.
Yep.
That's a notch down.
Yeah.
Because like that, you put that prominently on your can to sell it, and if I can't taste it, that's a detriment, not a bonus. So. I mean, I can make a beer and I can say like, hey, I put strawberries in it and I put 3 strawberries in there.
Yeah.
I could technically say I put strawberries in the beer, but if you can't taste it, it's not.
Well, you know when John put strawberries in his beer.
Well, you know that because you drink it and there's a whole strawberry in there.
Had to sneak it in. We did miss some super chats, so my apologies. Robert, quite a while ago, said destroyed Microsoft's compatibility check with free open source alternative. Feels good. Excellent. I knew that someone had kind of like bypassed the compatibility check tool so you could upgrade, which is kind of cool. But I hadn't checked it out for myself yet. Although I do have ISO images, install images for Windows 11 x64 and Windows 11 ARM 64.
Oh, really? Now, I haven't looked yet because I do have an MSDN subscription through work and whatnot. I haven't looked because it's in beta right now. I don't even want to tempt myself to download it. Do they still have an X32 bit version of it?
X32 is dead.
Okay, good.
Finally.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's about time.
32 should have died with Vista.
Yeah, I know it should have.
From XP to Vista, they should have gone, we're going 64.
Yeah.
Because every chip that came off the plant, with the exception of like the Atom N270 and a couple of Celeron chips and whatnot, every single one of them had AMD 64 instruction sets. We're talking Core 2 Duo was the de facto standard in 2007. Yep. Every single chip off the line had 64-bit instruction sets that were standardized on the AMD 64 set.
Well, it wasn't necessarily that it was the hardware. It was the software.
The software wasn't there yet.
It was,
but I've also said at some point.
This was the third-party software. People who developed applications and stuff like that. And this was a thing in our shop specifically, because we still had a lot of 16-bit applications that were essential for running day-to-day. And
Windows XP ended up getting support through 2015. Like,
yes,
you didn't have to upgrade to Vista.
No, but like 16-bit instruction set for applications won't work in 64-bit.
Correct.
They won't. They didn't create a thunking layer that went that far.
Right.
They would do 32 16-bit to 32. They did the thunking layer.
Yeah.
For that, but they didn't do all the way up, which I'm probably it would. I don't know why they didn't, but I don't think it would have been good. It probably would have been just like really tank performance, I would think.
Yeah.
But they just ended up dropping it, and I think it drived a lot of development to say, okay, we can't use this software anymore, so we got to develop new software for it, and that's what we ended up doing.
Yeah.
But that was I think probably the main reason why they kept it for so long, is because there was a lot of legacy software, especially since a lot of private shops that had their own legacy stuff that they developed that were essential for day-to-day work that just wouldn't work in 64-bit. So that's probably why.
And while that's a fair point, if you allow those companies to just use the same version for the next 14 years, there's no incentive to change.
Right.
And I found this on a personal
security.
And
security. Yeah.
If you have users who give a crap about security.
Yes, that's true.
Because I give a crap about security.
Yeah.
When I had my job, I gave a large crap about security.
Yeah, but you're gonna have your mom and pop, little
no.
POS sales that's based on an old OS that runs an old 16-bit. Like they're going to keep that thing for as long as they can because.
So we had an instance of a business department that was operating with QuickBooks 2007, and they didn't want to spend the $400 to upgrade to a newer version because, well, we might not be able to import the QBook. It's like bullcrap.
Yeah, you can't. You will be.
You just don't want to. You're comfortable. You don't want to move out of your comfort zone. And QuickBooks 2007 is a 32-bit application with 16-bit instruction set, which means you can't run it on a 64-bit operating system.
Right.
Well, when they got Windows 7 desktops, which were all 64-bit by our mandate, they had to keep around a laptop running Windows XP so they could access QuickBooks 2007 so they could do the books. When I left in 2020, they still had that laptop.
Oh, they still had it working?
Yes.
Man. Oh, man. No.
Yes.
I know.
So if you give the users, if you take away the incentive to stay, if you take away this is no longer compatible, you have to move. They'll move. Yeah. And sometimes you have to force security onto them because security in the mind of a bookkeeper, like I make sure I don't leave my purse in the car, and I make sure that my checkbook is at home on my desk, and I make sure of these other things. But hackers, I don't know what, all I know is I got invoice.pdf.exe from a vendor I've never heard of, but apparently we owe them $17,000. So I went ahead and wired it. Oh, and by the way, I can't open any of my documents now.
Oh, what the heck happened?
Right. Yeah. It says I need to log into Onion or Tor or the Onion or something. I don't know. Right?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Because you had to run QuickBooks 2007. And so there's some give and take, both from the development standpoint and from the enterprise standpoint of sometimes you have to force a change.
Yes. No, I completely understand that. Like pushing people over the precipice.
Right.
Sometimes people need that push. They
on
need
three.
That
1, 2,
3, go. I was like, throw them in.
I said on 3, not after 3, which means you're not going to hear 3.
Yeah.
That is my new mantra. I'm done. A couple more super chats. Let me rapid fire these. Denver, sure. i9 7980XE. By the way, it was i7 7980XE. Not powerful enough for Windows 11. That's why they're going for $400. Actually, I've been thinking about picking one of those up to put in one of my old X299 boards because that would be a lot of fun. And last I looked, they were still at like the 550 mark. So 400, I may all of a sudden be a buyer. UTP 216, $5 donation. Thank you so much. I was a little sad my first gen Ryzen 7 1800X isn't going to be supported in Windows 11. Thanks for the show, guys. You can still install it. And in fact, Microsoft announced today they are going to investigate the viability of Zen 1 CPUs and 7th gen Intel CPUs.
That's good.
So, remember, Meltdown did affect some first generation Zen products in a very niche way and likely not in the field repeatable way, but the vulnerability was still there. And if Windows is trying to combat security issues inside the OS and implement TPM and all this other stuff, I understand why they didn't. Now, I understand why you're upset as well, but at the same time, you can get a 2700X, which is a pretty substantial upgrade from an 1800X for what, $199, $179, and it'll plug straight into your 300 series board. So not a bad, and in fact, you might even be able to get a 3000 series chip. A 3600X would wipe the floor with your 1800X, believe it or not. Even though it's only 6 cores, those 6 cores are a lot faster than your 8 core. So think about that. Think about the potential of upgrading, even though you only have a 300 series board. Just make sure it's compatible.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Matt McInnes, $5 donation. Thank you, Matt. Hey, Talking Heads crew, replacing a 3900X. Should I go with X99 with a 2699 V3 or go X299 with those cheap 7th gen i9s? Go with X299 if you're thinking about going that route with the 7980XE, like we just mentioned up above. 18 cores, 32 threads, and significantly newer than the 5th generation. Gosh, I don't even remember what architecture that was. There was Haswell, and then there was something else. I think it's technically Haswell. But if you can get to 7th generation, if you can get to crap, I'm drawing a blank on.
I can't remember either.
Skylake.
It's like there was Devil. Was those in Devil's Lake?
No, Devil's Canyon was mobile.
Devil's Canyon, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Devil something. Yeah,
that was mobile. Yeah, no, I would totally go with the 7980XE over an 2699 V3. 2699 V3 is a fine chip, but if you have the choice to spend $250 on a 2699 V3 or $400 on a 7980XE, 7980XE all day long. Far faster memory support, newer instruction sets, pretty much the peak of what Intel was with 14 nanometer tech. They never got any better. For some reason, the 9980XE is still like $800 on the used market, while the 7980XE, which is 200 megahertz away from the exact same chip, is only $400. So, yeah. My other question is, why are you replacing a 3900X and going to an older Intel platform? I'm curious about that, because the 3900X, 12 cores on 7 nanometer.
Still pretty nice.
12 cores on 7 nanometer kicks the living hell out of the 18 core. Like, it does. You're going to go down in single-threaded performance, and you might tie in multi-threaded performance. So I'm curious to know why the jump, why the downgrade. So AAU, $5 donation. Thank you. I'm assuming a basketball fan. Drinking Allagash, Tripel Belgian Golden Ale with passion fruit and honey. Is the Pacific Northwest hot enough for you yet? Actually, we significantly cooled down today. I think we peaked at 82.
Yeah. And, so when we had that heat wave, we got up to I don't know what it was in Salem, and it was pretty hot.
117.
I think we were at 115 because I'm a little bit north of you, but yeah we were relatively close. So
up until this weekend, 115 was the highest recorded temperature in the state of Oregon ever. Yeah. So Woodburn area where you're at tied it. Salem area exceeded it, but we also got beat the same day. So I think 119 is now the new record. I did see a 118, but I think 119 is the official record somewhere from an official record keeper. But the previous high temperature in Salem was 108. So we beat it by 9 degrees.
That's a substantial increase.
That's not a beating. That's a runaway victory.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I stayed relatively cool because my house has a daylight basement.
I have a daylight basement.
Yes, you do too.
Normally it's 68 in here. God, it was sweltering at 71. Just like, oh, kill me now.
Oh no, yeah. I know. I just didn't go outside.
Yeah,
it's like,
no,
whatever.
We said after 8 a.m. the doors stay closed, and on Sunday we just didn't open the doors. I did walk out at 4 p.m. just to go. This is the hottest temperature I've ever been in. Oh yeah, I've been in Texas in 108 degree heat. I've been in Oregon in 111 and whatnot, and it's like I have to know what 117 feels like. And I walked out on my patio and I closed the door behind me, and I walked to the end of the walkway, and I went, it's hot as balls. Yeah, and I walked back in.
I did the exact same thing too. It's like I don't want to let the cold air out, but I'm gonna go walk outside because I have to experience this heat. And sure enough, it was like I'd walk around for a little bit and I'd be like, you know what, I'm starting to sweat, I don't like this, I'm gonna get back inside. Yep. And I still remember to this day, because like here it's very rare for the Pacific Northwest to experience those high temperatures. Very, very rare. We will once or twice a year flirt with 100. Yes, flirt. So this is very, very rare. But we did have it wasn't last year, it was 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. We did have like 4 days in a row that were above 100. We had like 101 and 104. And that was rare too. Yeah. And that was like a once in a lifetime type experience.
So, but no, we just had 3 days over 110.
Yeah, I know. That was crazy.
Right.
And I remember visiting, because my brother for a while lived in the Phoenix area in Arizona, and I remember going to visit them and just thinking it's weird because we would drive.
Exist.
Yeah, I know it shouldn't. We would drive around, and it was sunny outside, of course, because it's Phoenix.
Right.
And I'm like looking outside.
It is a desert, Stephen.
I understand this. But the fact, I mean, we're in a controlled environment because we're in the car, but I'm looking outside in the sunny weather, and there's literally nobody outside. I mean, you see nobody outside.
Yeah.
And that's very different from here, because during the summer months when it's sunny outside, everybody is out.
Yeah, the sidewalks are packed.
People just want to be outside, because the majority of the year it's just dark and gray. It's just kind of not great. So when we have the summer, our summer months are magical.
Yeah, we have 7 to 8 months of partly sunny to downpour, and like 60 or lower. Like that's 7-ish months of the year.
Yeah.
We have about a month of give and take where we'll be in like the low 70s. And it can last into October, or it can start in April. Like you can give or take one of those.
Yeah.
Never both, just one.
If you love the gray, then
right.
Oregon is where you want to be.
We lure Californians up here with the promise of glorious, livable summers.
Yes.
And then we slam the door on them where they're cutting their wrists by February just to see color.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sorry if I got really morbid.
No, to be fair, people actually go to the Oregon coast during the fall and winter months.
I love going to the Oregon coast in February.
Just to storm watch, just because it's turgid and gray, like the water is churning because there's storms out there, and you want to get yourself a nice thick pea coat and a pipe.
Yep.
And a captain's hat, and then wait for the wind to pick up and go on a bluff and just stand there and smoke your pipe and just just sit there and be like, that's people go there and do that.
Yeah, no, my wife and I, so I worked IT, which means most of my holidays were spent doing maintenance work for the last 13 years. And so my vacation months became October and February.
Yeah.
Because there ain't no holidays. There's nothing going on that's overly important. It's not end of quarter. It's not end of fiscal year. It's not this. It's not that. They were both months that I could get away for a week at a time, turn my cell phone off, and know that nothing was going to die.
Right.
Which I couldn't say about really any other month. And we either had massive installations and deployments over holiday times or whatever else, when the offices emptied out.
Yeah.
Or we had, busy work times where it's like the offices are cranking out and we're overtaxing the file server and something may die. But then you had October and you had February, and those months were magical. And so me and my wife, I used to take a week off pretty much every February, and we'd go to the coast and we would storm watch. And it's fun. Yeah, we'd rent a beach house in Cannon Beach, and we'd sit there. I'd sip on scotch and she'd have a wine and whatnot, and we'd just watch the storms roll in.
Oh,
and the sneaker waves hitting over the rocks, and it's like, it was awesome.
When we talk about when Skyrim. And we just talked about how when Skyrim first came out, this is about 10 years ago then.
Yeah.
So because my birthday is in November, and so that's what we did. I had when Skyrim first came out, I bought it. We went and spent like a week out at the coast. I took my PC with me. I sat there and played Skyrim, watched storms, and drank beer, and it was probably one of my favorite birthdays ever, because that's all we did. We just kind of like hung out inside, because we got a house right on the edge of Cannon Beach. So for people who don't know what Cannon Beach is, you might know Goonies, the movie Goonies, where they had the rock right there. That's Cannon Beach. And the place we stayed was like right there. and they had a big picture window overlooking into the beach area. And I set my computer up right next to it, and we got growlers from the local brewery over there, and drank beer and just storm watched.
It's great.
And played games. Man, it was awesome.
And from Cannon Beach, it's one of the best beaches in Oregon, because you can see for miles out into the ocean and down the bluffs and everything else. And when we say like watch the storms roll in, it will be a sunny blue sky, and you will literally see this cloud formation as a wall
rolling in,
roll in over the top of the ocean.
Yeah,
and you can see the waves kicking up, and you can see the rain wall as it moves through.
Yep.
And then 3 hours later, it does the opposite, where it's like all of a sudden it's brighter behind it, and that brightness kind of turns to blue, and then kind of rolls back. And what's even better is when it's at sunset, and so you get all the orange and yellows and whatnot blending behind it, and then that storm clears right in the evening. It's like, it's magical.
Yeah. There's a reason why we call it the coast and not the beach.
Yeah, it's the coast.
We go there to experience the coast, not to play on the beach.
Right.
Because the beach, for the most part, is pretty miserable unless you're there in the summertime.
Yep.
You go there to experience the atmosphere and the grandeur of the weather and everything like that comes with it.
Yep. Eugene says Cannon Beach is great. Awesome breweries there too. Don't count out Cannon Beach Distillery either.
Yeah.
They make a mighty fine gin and a pretty darn good whiskey.
Pelican is not too far from there either, which
That's right.
makes my absolute favorite barley wine of all time.
And about 30 miles up the road, you've got Astoria and Fort George.
Yes, that's right. Fort George is awesome, which you got the 3-way IPA right there.
Yep.
Yep, Cannon Beach is great.
Yep, I'm usually there at least once or twice a year. Yep. Either Seaside or Cannon Beach. So...
Okay, I think this is we're approaching on 10 o'clock, and we've only got like 4 stories in, not even that. This is the slowest progression of a Talking Heads episode we've ever been on.
Yeah, but I think it's been good conversation though.
No, I think it's been great actually.
So I don't mind skipping a few random stories.
No, I don't care either. We totally can. I don't know if we wanted to do any beer news or anything like that, or
well, number one, I read the headlines, and I think I read through one article. What did you read through as far as the beer news goes? Because maybe that'll be a good transition. We can do some beer news, and then we'll do some rapid fire tech.
There wasn't really anything. The only thing that kind of piqued my interest a little bit, and it's only because we talked about it previously on a Talking Heads. I don't remember if it was me or John. But there was the BrewDogs prize where they were supposed to give out a solid gold can of beer. And the winner of that can of beer was actually took it and analyzed it. And even though they said it was worth 15,000 pounds, I guess in the article it says it's pounds, that it's actually not completely made of solid gold. It's actually mostly brass.
Yep.
And it's gold plated. So even though it's claims it's worth $15,000, that monetary is not from the actual gold that's in the can. It's probably worth that much because they say it's worth that much.
Yeah.
Not necessarily from the gold. So kind of a bit of a bummer. I didn't really read the whole article about it, but I thought that was probably the most interesting one. He had another thing about PBR making a 1,776 pack of beer. Yeah, whatever. Who wants to drink that much PBR?
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's any entertainment news you want to cover.
There is one major piece of news that I want to cover for entertainment. Right. It's the first one.
Oh, yes.
Because I commented on a YouTube video where this flute was present, and he ignored it.
No.
And I am
travesty.
Furious. Hold on. Let me look up that video really quick.
Okay.
There we go. Okay. So, Adam Savage on Tested recently got to meet one of the original Indiana Jones hats. So this is one of his fedoras. This was from, I want to say,
Raiders, or
it was Raiders. Yes. Okay. This is one of the Raiders hats. So it wasn't Young Indy and it wasn't Temple of Doom. This is Raiders.
This is 80s. This is 1980.
Yeah. And it wasn't Last Crusade, and it certainly wasn't whatever the hell 4 was.
Oh God. I've memory hold that already. Don't bring it up again.
He survived a nuclear blast by jumping into a fridge. Oh, just die already.
That wasn't the worst part of that movie.
I know it wasn't. That's when I stopped paying attention.
Yeah, I know. It turned my mind off.
Anyway, Adam Savage recently had a visit with an original Raiders of the Lost Ark hat. We get to this point right about here, and I went, wait, what is that?
Oh yeah,
that's Picard's flute. That's the flute from the Inner Light.
Yeah,
I think that's the flute from Inner Light. And we scroll further in the video, and you can see there's the Enterprise right there on an original script for the Inner Light. That's Picard's flute from Inner Light. Turn around. Pick that up.
Where was that? What museum was this that he was at?
Right. So I'm the second most popular comment on the YouTube video right now.
You're like, where is
Adam? Oh my God, it's Indy's hat. Me. Move! You're blocking Picard's flute. Yeah, and it's like, turn around.
Yeah.
So I spotted it. Now I was one of the first people who spotted it. But for those who don't know, this is Prop Store of London, who does many different auctions throughout the year. They do probably about 4 or 5 auctions throughout the year of rare props like Indiana Jones's hat. And they screen reference and will actually tell you exactly what frames this item was used in, if it was screen used, if it was an extra, and so on and so forth. So they validate everything. I mean, down to like the frame of film that it's on. And so they're one of the most reputable auction houses as far as movie props and collectibles that you could possibly fathom. Fantastic company, I guess you can call them. But it's like, you're standing 2 feet from Picard's flute and you couldn't pick it up and show me? Adam, I thought we were bros.
Play a little ditty. Come on, just
Yeah. You had 30 years of training on it. I know you did. Come on.
Yeah.
So I was one of the first to point it out. But as it turns out, let me find it. There we go. This is how I found out that it sold. So can you even guess the estimated sale price of this at auction of Picard's flute?
I mean, I can because it's pulled up. Right.
It's pulled up. Okay. So you already read it. Okay.
I already know.
Okay. In the chat, can you guys guess how much?
Keep in mind, if you bought this thing, your lips will touch something that
Picard's
Stewart's lips
touched.
Yeah, Picard's lips also touched.
Right.
So how much would that be worth to you?
I would pay a lot for Patrick Stewart to spit on me.
I mean, there's probably a little bit of residual DNA there. You could technically dismantle this and have the right technology. You could clone some Patrick Stewart.
My own little baby Patrick Stewart.
That's right. You could.
He could be the new baby Yoda.
He could be.
Carry him around a little ball behind me.
Baby Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
As soon as he gets talking age, you can have him say "Make it so," just like that's his catchphrase. You know, that'd be cute.
So this particular item, the flute itself, has a very interesting history. We'll start with the sale price right now. The sale price of this flute, as tweeted out by Trekcore, and I do have the actual auction listing, which we'll take a look at in a second. The TNG Resican flute from the Inner Light just sold at auction, including a 25% bidder fee. So by the way, when you're buying an item at auction in these auctions, it's not free. The cost of the transaction is the onus of the buyer, not the seller. So this ain't your eBay where it's like, oh, they took 12% out of what I sold an item for. No. The seller gets the sale price, and then you pay the auction house 25% on top.
It's big, yeah.
It's a hit.
Yeah.
But they get top dollar.
Yeah.
So this flute was estimated to sell for between $50,000 and $70,000.
That was the estimate.
That was the estimate.
Not what it actually sold as.
It sold, including the auction bidder fee, for $237,000.
Yes. Now I think it wasn't just the flute though.
It was the flute and the script.
It was the flute and the script and the case. There was a case with it.
Yeah, there's a case that goes with it. And the script also includes Polaroids of the cast that was taken during screen testing.
Yeah.
So Picard has his like civilian outfit on, his rags that he was wearing during that episode. They screen tested him, took a Polaroid and put it in the script. And so there are notes, there are so many other things, but that's the script for the Inner Light, and that's the flute that Picard played. Yeah, I was waiting for the 12% comments on eBay. I knew you had my back, Skull. So this was lot number 242, Star Trek Next Generation, a TV series airing from 1987 to 1994. Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart's Resican flute, box, and costume continuity script. So yeah, it's the continuity notes for the directors and producers to make sure that they are keeping the same costumes and makeup and effects from shot to shot as they go through. So the winning bid was $190,000 plus 25% for auction fees. Mm-hmm. Now, it doesn't say it here, but I did look up some of the history for the Resican flute. The last time it sold at auction, it sold for $38,000, if my memory serves correctly.
Well, that's some inflation right there.
After it was estimated to sell for between $300 and $500.
Wow.
I could have bought his flute.
Well, see, here's the thing. The reason, okay, the fact that they keep cranking out crappy Star Trek stuff that no one wants to watch. Well, I mean, I'm not gonna whatever, but that just makes the old Star Trek stuff way more expensive now.
It does.
It makes it. It's. If you got any old Star Trek memorabilia,
Steve, I ask you this as a personal friend. Do you know a true TNG Trekkie?
I know
true TNG Trekkie.
Define true.
The ones that I follow on Twitter that eat, drink, live, breathe everything.
No, I don't know anybody like that. I know people who are very big fans, like, you know, me, you, and John, obviously very big fans.
There are people who, we're very big fans. Obviously, I have the Elcar's border around me.
Yes, I know.
I understand.
Obviously, we like this. Yes.
But there are people out there, and like, I am definitely interested in tech because of Star Trek The Next Generation.
Oh, several people have been.
Right.
Yes.
Like there are so many people who have devoted their lives to science, computer tech, software, whatever.
Because not only just Star Trek, because of science fiction.
Because of science fiction.
But Star Trek personified that because it was a weekly entry into that.
A day in the life of the future 24th century. Right.
Of course.
And so Star Trek is a big reason why I do what I do. Mm-hmm. And I'd be lying if I said it wasn't. But I don't. And while I do collect some props, some replicas and whatnot, and I watch through every series pretty much every single year.
I do too.
I'm
not disappointed in it, but I still watch it.
Right. I am also, well, I
still like, I look Lower Decks. Lower Decks was
I start at season 3 for TNG, to be fair. So.
Okay, yeah, you're right. The
first
2 seasons of TNG was a very hard slog to get through. But
I can start at the emissary of DS9.
Yeah.
I can't.
No. The DS9 was really good. I actually quite enjoyed Voyager.
I really like Voyager
too. Yeah,
right.
First 2 seasons of Voyager were great.
They've got Voyager has some fantastic episodes in the first couple of seasons.
Yeah,
including the holodeck program in that Tuvok programmed to train Starfleet security just in case the Maquis decided to mutiny.
Yeah,
like and then Seska ended up like sabotaging the program to take over the ship post-mortem.
Right.
It's a great episode. It's probably the best episode that you can possibly get that is holodeck gone wrong.
It definitely started.
Moriarty need not apply.
It started waning definitely at Voyager. Like TNG was like it had a bad ramp at the beginning, but yes. TNG obviously
3 through 7 solid
got
television.
Great. It was great. Yeah. DS9 also great, good storytelling. Yeah. Voyager was good, but it started waning towards the end.
Voyager was a little hit and miss. There was, I mean, at the end of TNG, you understood that Data was more human and more evolved than he was at the beginning of the show. Yeah. You knew Worf was a different person than he was from the beginning of the show to the end.
And that's what Voyager had.
That's what Voyager did so poorly.
Once Kes was gone, they put 7 of 9 in there, and then she became that person who would be like, okay, I'm this Borg person who's now progressing.
Going to grow
as
an individual.
Right? Yeah. So you need that type of person.
The person with the most growth was the freaking hologram.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Definitely.
The Doctor.
Picardo,
the Doctor.
Yes.
Character name.
Probably the best in. Voyager,
he's the best part of Star Trek Voyager.
Yeah. Probably yes. Absolutely. In fact, didn't they put him in like Orville? They had him in an episode of Orville too. I thought they did.
I don't remember that.
He wasn't as the Doctor, but I think he showed up.
Yeah.
But anyway,
yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, somebody said Red Letter Media. Yeah, Mike from Red Letter Media is like a big Mike and Rich Evans.
I follow a couple people on Twitter because they're interesting and because they always have an interesting take on whatever episode they're watching at the time, which is constant. Have like devoted their entire identity around what Star Trek means to them.
Right.
There's I don't even want to call out names. I don't want to get anyone followed or hate mailed or anything like that for disingenuous purposes. But I follow quite a few people who cosplay on the regular, who it's like, well, I just finished Voyager, so I'm going back to TNG again, and whatnot. It's like 90s Trek till I die.
Yeah, no,
I watch it like once a year, and that's enough.
Yeah,
and it's on here while I'm doing other things, and I'm not fully paying attention. But I love the atmosphere. I love the environment that it is. These are people who like come home and watch like 6 episodes a night, and then when they're done running through everything, they go back to episode 1 and start it all over again.
I've actually been slowly going through. Now this is kind of a little bit obscure, but I'm only been doing this because my 4-year-old son is actually kind of into it a little bit when I put it on.
Yeah.
Is the original Star Trek animated series from the 70s.
Really?
Yeah, I started watching that because I had never seen it before, and it had the original cast voicing the
original voice actors, right?
Original voice actors were
back
on there.
To the voice actors.
No AI at this point. But I wanted to watch it, and I seen a few of them before, like through YouTube and stuff like that, and they were very cheesy. I mean, they were very, very cheesy. But I wanted to go back and watch them all. And there's only 2 seasons, and they're only like maybe about 15 episodes a piece. I think they're not too terribly. Long.
It's not terribly long.
No.
Yeah.
And they're only half hour a piece, like 20 minutes. So I was watching it, but then my son was like really, really getting into it, and we'd talk about, is that a spaceship? Are they going down to the planet? What are they doing in the planet? What are they doing? It's not like I'm talking him through it. And he's like really getting into it. So I'm like, okay, let's keep this going. So every time he gets interested, I'm going to start, let's go watch a Star Trek episode. Let's go watch this. And so maybe he'll get into the Star Trek stuff, and maybe we'll start watching Star Trek Next Generation together. Once he starts hitting 5 or 6, we'll like, okay, let's do some Deep Space Nine. Let's go do some, that's gonna be fun. I'm kind of looking forward to that because it's re-exploring it for me as well, because I get to see it through his eyes in a new way. But man, Sesame Space, yeah.
Don't pay attention to the chat, Steve.
Sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. Go about your business.
Yeah.
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
Right.
Anyway, we were trying to get through more news, not stall on that. But anyway.
Right. No, I know we did. We did.
We knew as soon as we hit any kind of Star Trek talk, it would end with Star Trek talk.
Right. Pretty much.
The flute from the Inner Light from Star Trek The Next Generation just sold for $237,000.
Right. And that just goes to show you the influence of Star Trek.
Yes.
Right? And as much as I want to like the new Star Trek stuff, it still kind of pales in comparison to the previous stuff that we watched in the 90s. I'm sorry, it just is. It's not capturing, for me personally. I like I just said before, I like Lower Decks because it's different than all the rest. They're trying to be their own thing, and they're kind of like doing some parody with Star Trek, and I kind of appreciate that. It's more lighthearted. Yes. I get that. That's fine. But with Discovery and even with Picard, as much as I wanted to like Picard, it's not the same. It's not there.
It's nothing
that I want to go back and like revisit over and over again, like I want to do with Next Generation and Deep Space Nine and Voyager.
Correct.
I like watched it once. It's an experience. I don't want to see it again.
I think that's fair. I think this is going to be a little controversial, but also eye-opening for others. So take it as it is.
Yeah.
Star Trek as a series has always been social and political commentary.
Mm-hmm.
We know this. We understand that the reason the first girl v girl kiss on network television or on cable television or broadcast television, there we go, on standard television was on Deep Space Nine was because of the homophobia that was going around 1995, 97.
You even go back further than that, like the original Star Trek series, interracial kiss.
Yeah, with the interracial kiss, right.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of firsts when it comes to gender norms and racial norms of the day when you speak about Star Trek. And Star Trek has always been politically charged, socially charged, and social commentary about why aren't we better than we are right now. And if that ruffles your feathers, freaking pay attention. You're not watching the episodes, right?
I don't think that's necessarily a lie. I just think that the storytelling with the Next Generation and the Deep Space Nine were better than what we have now. I think you're not wrong about the social commentary and the how. I think they were more subtle with how they presented it previously than how they're doing it now.
They were a little bit more in your face, but they also only had 10 episodes in Star Trek.
They also intermixed a lot of like just I don't want to call it shock TV or something. They would just like have a lot of action sequences and a lot of violent sequences and a lot of things that just wasn't. I know that there's been times in the past where Star Trek had that in there, but they used it very sparingly because they wanted to make a point.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like these with Picard and stuff like that, it seemed like they tried to have a more action-oriented special effects extravaganza that took a back seat to the story.
Right.
And the story was, to be fair, pretty weak and not very character-driven.
I will say I fully agree with you as far as Discovery goes. I don't necessarily agree as far as Picard. In fact, Picard even had some filler content in it that I didn't think belonged.
Yeah. No, you're right. Picard had but Picard had some weird filler content. It didn't really jive with anything else. I kind of, in fact, there was a couple of episodes in Discovery where I actually did not mind, because it was more of a throwback to the original Trek, especially the ones where they had Captain Pike and they went down to planets and stuff like that. This is like, okay, this was almost like original Trek at that point.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed those for what it was, but the rest of it, I don't know, maybe it's just the storytelling of TV in general, where everybody kind of expects this overarching story to happen, where before it was always episodic.
Yeah. Episodic TV is pretty much dead, and we kind of have DS9 and 24 to thank for that. And you can even go back to Babylon 5.
Right. No, I didn't mind. Like there was the inklings of that in the early 90s, where they had, and as a prime example would be one of the shows that I absolutely love was X-Files.
X-Files, Xena, Hercules.
Right. They had
episodic but overarching. Right.
They had overarching, but it was still episodic.
Yes.
They had the Creature of the Week episodes, but they still had these tentpole episodes that would continue the story on.
That would progress something forward.
That would progress things. So you would have these gems in between of just like these standalone stories that were just excellent and great. And they still kind of helped with the character development of the characters that you had in there. But it didn't really affect the overall story one way or the other. It was just an enjoyable thing to watch. But they still kept an overarching story that kept you wanting to watch season after season after season.
Right.
And doing that, just doing a solo, like this whole season is an overarching story, is a lot harder to do, I think, because you have to keep the audience entertained. And that's why a lot of places have these like just filler episodes that are just full of nothing. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Take it as you will.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I don't think I have anything to add to that.
All right.
A lot of stories we didn't get to. If you're interested in any of the notes that we didn't talk about, they are all down in the video description. There are some good reads down in there. There's Amazon's vinyl record of the month is back for the first time since like 1985.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, you remember Columbia Records, right? We used to have the Columbia Records. Well, that was
kill the MP3 star.
That was cassettes. I remember the Columbia Records was cassettes.
Columbia Record Club, right?
They went to CDs, and then but now they're coming back to these type of things. But it's vinyl, and it's collectible vinyl type stuff. The vinyl of the month. I would dig that.
Yep, for $25 a month, you can get a classic album from the 60s and 70s every 30 days or so.
Yeah. I mean, $25 seems steep for vinyl, but they give you classics, like Pink Floyd The Wall and stuff. So stuff that if you got the original of would probably cost you $35 to $40.
Right. As long as they are original masters and not digital re-recorded on analog.
Yes.
I'm for it.
Yes, I am too. I had never really batted an eye about vinyl until I actually listened to someone who had a very good vinyl setup with some really good speakers, and I could actually hear the difference. And then I was absolutely sold. And I'm like, I need to get this personally. I need to get my own good turntable and my own good set of speakers, because that was a phenomenal audio experience.
Yeah.
All the ABBA albums.
So if you want to talk original music fidelity, and I think we'll close with this.
Yes.
There is a phenomenal YouTube video you need to go watch, and that is Brian May, former guitarist for Queen, breaking down the original 24-track mix of Bohemian Rhapsody in studio. Oh my God. Talking about Freddie Mercury, talking about how they did the different takes, and talking about the record company pushing back, like a 7-minute song. Are you kidding me? And went on. They're like, yeah, like that's what we're doing. and them pushing it through and all the different backstories. And it's like a 10 or 15 minute video. It's not terribly long, but he goes through and they get access to the original 24 track recording. And so they can hear the original individual vocal tracks and bass and guitar and piano and everything else that goes into it. It is a magical breakdown. So if you're into that kind of stuff, that nerdy 70s music kind of stuff,
I am,
and band geek levels of like,
it's actually kind of funny. My son, who's 4 now, he absolutely, I don't know how he got indoctrinated into Bohemian Rhapsody, but every once in a while, he'll just say, "Mama, ooh." That's all. That's the only part he knows.
Didn't mean to make you cry.
No, he doesn't even go. He just goes, "Mama, ooh." That's
just
all he'll say.
Killed a man. I'm gonna teach him some of the lyrics from that.
Oh, he also knows "Nothing Really Matters," because he was. It's so funny. Okay,
Perfect.
So what was he was getting like? He was saying something about "Nothing Really Matters" and like Riders on the Storm or something. He was getting those two confused. Like he was getting some Johnny Cash mixed with some Queen. Yeah, I don't know what it was, but he was singing about "Nothing Really Matters" today. It was pretty funny. He actually made a joke because he loves pancakes. He's a 4-year-old. He loves pancakes. And so I was putting butter on his pancakes, and he just came out and he says, "Butter, ooh, didn't mean to make you melt." That was the joke he came up with. And I'm like, I was like, hey, that's pretty funny.
Pretty solid.
That's pretty
solid,
good.
Dude.
That's pretty good.
Yep.
Yep.
Time to set up the tip jar for Jeff to sing. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there we go. Hey, there is some footage that I have of Jeff singing karaoke.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Greatest karaoke you've ever seen. The best karaoke.
The best karaoke.
All right. Gents and gentesses. Thank you for watching episode 190 here on Talking Heads. It has been a fantastic show. If you're interested in donating to the show to help us keep the lights on around here and keep the content coming to you, like my cloud gaming server and all the random tutorials that I do that take me 2 weeks to produce, think about joining the Floatplane or Patreon. Links are both down in the video description. You'll get exclusive access to my Discord server where you can chat with myself, John, Rhett, Steve, all the hosts from Talking Heads all week long. Keep the party going. Ask us questions. Drink beer with us. It's totally a cool place.
Of course.
Is there anything else down there? You don't have a social, so you don't really need to plug anything.
No, not yet.
Cool.
I'm thinking about something. Maybe I'll do something. I don't know.
You're getting a little old for it.
I'll be the puppet master. I'm gonna have my son do stuff. Just like tell him what to do.
Master of puppets. There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be here every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific time right here on YouTube for the latest in beer and tech news. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, we will see you next week.
See you guys.
Cheers, everyone.
All right.